Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the ESS Liberty, watching something that no human had ever seen before. Through the thick glass windows, massive ships floated in space around Earth. These were not human ships. They were alien vessels, bigger than anything humanity had ever built. The ships looked like giant crystals that caught and reflected sunlight in strange ways. Jake had been in the military for 20 years. He had seen many things, but nothing like this. The alien ships had appeared 3 hours ago without any warning. One moment the space around Earth was empty, and the next moment it was filled with these crystal giants. "Sir, we're getting a signal from the lead ship," said Lieutenant Danny Martinez from his station. Danny was the best pilot in the Earth Defense Fleet, but even he looked nervous as he stared at his instruments. "Put it through," Jake ordered. His voice was steady, but his heart was beating fast. This was the moment that would change everything for humanity. The main screen flickered and then showed something that made everyone on the bridge go quiet. An alien face appeared on the screen. It had blue skin and 3 eyes arranged in a triangle pattern. When it spoke, a computer voice translated its words into English. "I am Ambassador Veltar of the Zilithian Empire, speaking for the Galactic Defense Coalition. Come in peace to offer protection to the people of Earth." Jake stepped forward. "I am Admiral Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet. We welcome you to our system, Ambassador Veltar." The alien's middle eye focused on Jake, while the other two seemed to look at different parts of the bridge. "Admiral Morrison, we must speak about urgent matters. Your world is in great danger." Captain Lisa Grant entered the bridge at that moment. She was the head of Earth's Xenology Department, which studied the possibility of alien life. 4 years. She had prepared for this moment, but nothing could have made her ready for the real thing. "Ambassador," Lisa said, stepping beside Jake. "I am Captain Lisa Grant. I will serve as the human liaison for this contact. We are honored to meet representatives of galactic civilization." Veltar's 3 eyes all turned to focus on Lisa. "Captain Grant, we do not have much time for honor or ceremony. Your species faces extinction. We are here to prevent that from happening." The words hit the bridge crew like a physical blow. Jake felt his stomach drop. "Extinction? What do you mean?" "Your world sits in a sector of space that has become a battleground," Veltar explained. "The Void Hunters are coming. They are an enemy that consumes entire worlds, leaving nothing behind but empty space. We've been fighting them for many years across the galaxy." Lisa stepped forward. "Tell us about these Void Hunters. What makes them so dangerous?" The screen changed to show images that made several bridge crew members gasp. Planets that had been burned to ash, space stations torn apart, ships that looked like they had been eaten by some massive creature. "The Void Hunters do not conquer worlds," Veltar continued. "They consume them, everything. The land, the water, the air, all living things. They use the matter to fuel their war machines and grow their fleet. They have destroyed 47 civilizations in this sector alone." Commander Rick Hayes, Earth's military strategist, studied the images carefully. Rick had planned defenses against every type of enemy he could imagine, but these images showed destruction beyond anything in his experience. "How do they do this?" Rick asked. "What kind of weapons can destroy entire planets?" "Their ships are alive," Veltar said. "Biomechanical creatures that eat matter and convert it to energy. They adapt to any defense. They learn from every battle. No world has ever successfully fought them off alone." Jake felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders. "What are you proposing, Ambassador?" "The Galactic Defense Coalition offers Earth full protection. We will establish military bases on your world and your moon. Our fleets will defend your system. In return, humanity will become a protected species under Coalition law." Lisa frowned. "What does that mean exactly? What would be required of us?" Veltar's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. "Your military forces would be integrated into Coalition command structure. Your planetary defenses would be upgraded to our specifications. Your people would follow Coalition protocols for protected species. And if we refuse this protection," Jake asked. The alien was quiet for a long moment. then you will face the Void Hunters alone. No species has ever survived such an encounter. Your world would be consumed within days of their arrival. Commander Hayes leaned forward. When are they expected to arrive? Scouts estimate 3 to 4 months before the Void Hunter fleet reaches this system. They're currently finishing the consumption of the Kepler 442 system, which had a population of 12 billion beings. The bridge went silent. 12 billion lives gone. Jake tried to imagine such a number, but his mind could not grasp it. We need time to consider this offer, Lisa said. This is not a decision that can be made by a few people. Our entire species must be involved. Veltar nodded. We understand. But do not take too long. Every day you delay is a day closer to the Void Hunter's arrival. We will remain in orbit while you decide. The screen went dark, leaving the bridge crew in stunned silence. Get me President Kate Adams on a secure line, Jake ordered, and contact the United Nations immediately. Every nation needs to know about this. Over the next several hours, the news spread through Earth's governments. President Adams called an emergency session of the United Nations. Prime ministers and presidents from every nation gathered in New York to discuss humanity's response. General Pete Collins, who commanded the combined Earth Defense Forces, was not happy with the situation. I don't like the idea of giving up our independence, he told the assembled leaders. We've fought too hard for our freedom to hand it over to aliens, no matter how well-meaning they claim to be. But General, said the representative from Japan, if what they say is true, we cannot possibly defend ourselves against such a threat. Our weapons are primitive compared to what we've seen. Dr. Alan Cooper, Earth's leading physicist, had been studying the data the aliens had provided. Technology they've shown us is indeed far beyond our current capabilities, he admitted. But there might be other options we haven't considered. President Adams stood at the front of the assembly. We need to consider all possibilities. Master Veltar is waiting for our response, but we cannot make this decision in haste. Meanwhile, Captain Grant was working with a team of linguists and scientists to learn more about the coalition. She discovered that they had protected dozens of species across the galaxy. Most seemed happy with the arrangement, but she noticed something troubling in the data. None of the protected species ever advanced beyond their current level, she told Jake during a private meeting. They remain exactly as they were when the coalition found them. Jake rubbed his temples. You think they keep species dependent on them? I think they genuinely believe they're helping, Lisa said. But the result is the same. Protected species never develop their own advanced defenses. They never become equal partners in the galaxy. As the days passed, more details emerged about the coalition and the Void Hunters. The enemy was indeed terrible, but Jake began to notice something else in the reports. Every species that had faced the Void Hunters had been alone, isolated, unprepared. Humanity was different. They had been preparing for possible alien contact for decades. They had unified military commands, coordinated defense networks, and most importantly, they had something that seemed rare in the galaxy, the willingness to fight for their independence. No matter the odds, the decision was coming soon, and Jake knew it would determine the future of the human race. 3 weeks had passed since the coalition ships arrived. During that time, Earth's leaders had debated day and night. Every government had sent their best people to study the alien offer. Military experts, scientists, and politicians all gave their opinions. The world watched and waited for a decision that would change everything. Ambassador Susan Blake stood in the United Nations building, preparing to deliver humanity's answer. Susan had been chosen because she was known for her skill with difficult negotiations. I had helped end 3 wars and solve trade disputes between dozens of countries. But nothing in her experience had prepared her for this moment. Admiral Jake Morrison was with her, along with Captain Lisa Grant and General Pete Collins. They represented Earth's military and scientific leadership. Outside in orbit, the coalition ships waited patiently for humanity's response. Are we all agreed on this? Susan asked the small group. Once I give them our answer, there's no taking it back. Jake nodded firmly. The vote was clear. 73% of the world's governments voted the same way. We know what we're doing. Lisa looked worried, but determined. The data shows we have options they haven't considered. We just have to make them understand. General Collins crossed his arms. I still think they're going to be shocked when they hear what we decided. Susan activated the communication system. The main screen flickered to life, showing Ambassador Veltar's three-eyed face. Behind him, other coalition members could be seen moving around what looked like a command center. Ambassador Veltar, Susan began. Thank you for your patience while we considered your generous offer. Veltar's three eyes focused on her. Ambassador Blake, we hope you have decided to accept our protection. The Void Hunters grow closer each day. Susan took a deep breath. We have indeed made our decision. After careful consideration by all Earth's governments, we must respectfully decline your offer of protection. The effect was immediate. Veltara's blue skin seemed to grow pale. His three eyes blinked rapidly as if he could not believe what he had heard. Other coalition members in the background stopped what they were doing and turned to stare at the screen. I do not understand, Veltar said slowly. Did you say you were refusing our protection? That is correct, Susan replied calmly. However, we would like to make a counteroffer. Jake stepped forward. Ambassador Veltar, we appreciate what the coalition is trying to do. We understand the danger we face. But humanity has always believed in fighting for our own freedom. Veltar shook, his head clearly confused. Admiral Morrison, perhaps you do not understand the situation. The Void Hunters have destroyed every world they have attacked. Your technology is primitive compared to theirs. You cannot possibly defend yourselves. We're not planning to defend ourselves alone, Lisa said. We want to propose an alliance. Not as a protected species, but as equal partners in the fight against the Void Hunters. The silence from the coalition ship stretched for long seconds. Finally, Veltar spoke again. An alliance? You wish to fight alongside us? Exactly, Susan said. We will gladly join the war against the Void Hunters. We will contribute everything. We have to the fight. But we will do it as free allies, not as protected subjects. Another coalition member appeared on the screen. This one had silver skin and 4 arms. I am Commander Zaxtill of the Coalition Defense Force. Are you saying you believe you can contribute meaningfully to a war against the Void Hunters? General Collins stepped up to the screen. Commander, we've been studying the data you provided. We've seen how the Void Hunters fight, and we've seen how other species have tried to defend against them. We think we can offer some new approaches, Zaxtill. S4 moved in what might have been the alien equivalent of a shrug. Every species believes they have new approaches. The Void Hunters adapt to everything. They learn from every battle. They become stronger with each world they consume. That's exactly why we need to try something completely different, Jake said. Every species you've told us about fought the same way. They used the same strategies, the same technologies. Void Hunters learned to counter all of those approaches. Veltar leaned forward. What could you possibly do that advanced civilizations could not? Lisa activated a portable computer and began showing data on the screen. We've analyzed every battle report you gave us. We found patterns that no one else seems to have noticed. Data showed battle formations, ship movements, and weapon deployments from dozens of previous Void Hunter attacks. Red lines traced the paths of alien ships, while blue dots marked the positions of defending forces. Look at this, Lisa continued. Every defending force used the same basic strategy. They tried to meet the Void Hunters in space, ship to ship. They used energy, weapons, and advanced shields. They fought like a traditional military force. Commander Zaxtill studied the data. Yes, that is how space warfare is conducted. How else would you fight? Differently, Jake said simply. We've never fought a space war before, so we don't have any traditions to limit our thinking. Dr. Alan Cooper appeared on the human side. Of the communication, he had been working around the clock since the aliens arrived, studying their technology and the Void Hunter threat. The Void Hunters are powerful because they consume matter and energy, Dr. Cooper explained. But that's also their weaknesses. They need to get close to their targets to feed. They have to enter a planet's gravity well to harvest effectively. Veltar's 3 eyes blinked again. Yes, this is known. That is why coalition forces try to stop them before they reach planetary orbit. But what if we let them come? Koopa asked. What if we use their need to get close against them? The Coalition representatives looked confused. Zack still spoke first. You would allow them to approach your world? That would be suicide. Maybe, Jake admitted. Or maybe it would be the first time anyone has been able to set a proper trap for them. Susan could see the aliens were still struggling to understand humanity's decision. She decided to be more direct. Ambassador Veltar, I know this is difficult to accept, but humans have faced extinction before. We've survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and natural disasters. Every time we found a way to overcome the threat by working together and refusing to give up. The Void Hunters are not a natural disaster, Veltar warned. They are an intelligent enemy with weapons that can crack planets. They have consumed civilizations far more advanced than yours. Then it's time they met a civilization that doesn't follow the normal rules, General Collins said. Every species they've fought has been part of your galactic community. They've all had similar technologies and similar ways of thinking about warfare. Lisa nodded. We're not asking you to trust us blindly. We want to share our ideas with your military planners. Let them evaluate our proposals before the Void Hunters arrive. Veltar was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was sad. You do not understand what you are choosing. We have seen this before. Young species who believe their courage is enough to overcome superior technology. The result is always the same. Has any young species ever had the support of the Coalition as allies? Susan asked. Has anyone ever tried fighting the Void Hunters with Coalition technology combined with completely new strategies? Commander Zack Still's forearms moved in complex patterns. It has never been attempted. Protected species do not fight in our wars. Then maybe it's time to try something new, Jake said. If we're going to die anyway, at least let us die fighting as free beings. And if we succeed, then the galaxy will have new weapons against the Void Hunters. The communication went silent. For several minutes while the Coalition representatives spoke among themselves in their own languages. Finally, Veltar returned to the screen. This is highly irregular, he said. The Coalition Council will need to approve any alliance with an unprotected species, but, given the unusual circumstances, I am authorized to provide you with detailed intelligence about Void Hunter capabilities. Thank you, Susan said. We won't waste this opportunity. Hope not, Veltar replied, because if your plans fail, there will be no one left to regret the decision. The communication ended, leaving the human representatives alone with the weight of their choice. They had committed their entire species to a path no other civilization had ever tried. Months they would learn if humanity's confidence was justified or if they had just chosen a more dangerous form of suicide. The Coalition ships left Earth's orbit the day after humanity's decision. But before they departed, Ambassador Veltar kept his promise. He transmitted detailed files about the Void Hunters that filled Earth's computers with more information than human scientists had ever seen about alien technology. General Pete Collins stood in the newly built command center, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The facility had been constructed in record time, with workers from every nation contributing to its completion. Around him, screens showed military bases across the world where similar preparations were taking place. Status report, Pete called. Out to his staff, Colonel Tom Brooks looked up from his computer terminal. Tom was Earth's best military engineer, and he had been working 20-hour days since the aliens left. Sir, we've completed the first phase of satellite deployment. 300 kinetic bombardment platforms are now in orbit. Good, Pete replied. What about the ground installations? Commander Sarah Kelly stepped forward with a tablet in her hands. Sarah was coordinating the defensive preparations across all continents. We've finished installing the electromagnetic pulse networks in North America and Europe. Asia and Africa will be complete within the week. Dr. Alan Cooper entered the command center carrying a stack of papers and looking exhausted. Alan had been analyzing the alien data continuously, trying to understand every detail about their enemy. General Collins, Alan said, I've found something important in the Void Hunter files. Pete turned to face the scientist. What did you discover, Alan? Spread the papers on a nearby table. The pages were covered with diagrams and equations that most people would not understand. The Void Hunters have a weakness that the Coalition never exploited. Their biomechanical ships need time to adapt to new types of attacks. Commander Kelly joined them at the table, How much time? According to the data, approximately 47 minutes for their first adaptation cycle, Alan explained. That time, they're vulnerable to attacks they haven't encountered before. Pete studied the diagrams. 47 minutes isn't very long. It's long enough if we coordinate our attacks properly, Alan said. But we can only use each type of weapon once. After they adapt, those weapons become useless. Colonel Brooks looked up from his computer. That's why we're building so many different types of defenses. We need variety, not just power. Captain Lisa Grant entered the command center at that moment. She had been traveling between countries, coordinating with international teams of scientists and military experts. Her job was to make sure everyone understood the plan and worked together effectively. "How are the other preparations going?" Pete asked her. Lisa sat down heavily in a chair. She looked tired but determined. "The civilian training programs are ahead of schedule. We've trained over 200 million people in basic guerrilla warfare techniques." 200 million? Commander Kelly looked surprised. "I thought the number was closer to 50 million. People are volunteering faster than we can train." "Them," Lisa explained. When word got out about what we're facing, citizens from every country started demanding to help. We had to turn people away. Dr. Cooper looked up from his papers. "That's actually consistent with what I found in the Coalition data. The Void Hunters have never faced a planet where the entire population was prepared to fight." Pete nodded. "What about the space fighter program?" "Lieutenant Danny Martinez has been training pilots around the clock," Lisa replied. "We've converted over 5,000 civilian spacecraft into fighters. They're not as advanced as military ships, but they're fast and maneuverable." Danny Martinez himself walked into the command center at that moment, still wearing his flight suit. The young pilot had been testing the new fighter designs personally, pushing both the ships and himself to their limits. "General Collins, Danny," said, "we've completed the atmospheric defense tests. The modified civilian ships can operate in the upper atmosphere better than we expected." "Good news," Pete said. "We'll need every advantage we can get." Dr. Maria Santos entered the room, carrying a laptop computer. Maria was a specialist in alien psychology, and she had been studying the behavior patterns of the Void Hunters. Work was crucial to understanding how their enemy thought and fought. General Maria said, "I finished my analysis of Void Hunter tactical patterns. They have a significant blind spot in their strategy." Everyone in the room turned to look. At her, Maria opened her laptop and projected images onto the main screen. The images showed battle formations from previous Void Hunter attacks. "Look at this," Maria continued. "In every single battle, the Void Hunters followed the same basic approach. They establish orbital superiority, then begin harvesting operations. They never expect coordinated resistance from a planet's surface." Commander Kelly studied the images. "You mean they don't plan for ground-based attacks?" "Exactly," Maria said. "They assume that once they control space around a planet, the surface population will either surrender or hide. They've never encountered organized resistance from civilian populations." Colonel Brooks leaned forward. "So our civilian training program might be more effective than we thought. Could be the key to everything," Maria agreed. "But only if we can coordinate the timing perfectly." Lieutenant Amy Foster joined the group. Amy was a specialist in psychological warfare, and she had been developing ways to confuse and disorient the Void Hunters during battle. "I've been working on something that might help with that coordination," Amy said. "The Coalition data shows that Void Hunters communicate through bioelectrical signals. I think we can disrupt those signals." Dr. Cooper looked interested. "How?" Amy pulled out a small device that looked like a radio. "We've modified standard broadcasting equipment to transmit on the same frequencies the Void Hunters use. If we time it right, we can cause communication breakdowns in their fleet." General Collins smiled for the first time in weeks. "That could give us the confusion we need to make our attacks more effective." The preparations continued day and night. In factories around the world, workers built weapons and equipment designed specifically to fight the Void Hunters. The designs were based on human engineering principles combined with information from the Coalition. Data engineer Ben Clark supervised the construction of quantum disruption mines in a facility in Japan. These weapons were designed to interfere with the matter absorption systems that the Void Hunters used to fuel their ships. "The test results look good," Ben reported during a video conference with the command center. The quantum fields should prevent the Void Hunters from converting matter to energy in a radius of 50 kilometers around each mine. In Australia, teams of workers were building massive railgun installations that could fire projectiles at incredible speeds. The railguns were hidden underground and designed to emerge only when needed in Brazil. Scientists were developing biological weapons that could interfere with the organic components of Void Hunter ships. These weapons were controversial, but everyone agreed that desperate times required desperate measures. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens were doing their part. Farmers modified their equipment to serve as weapons. Factory workers learned to build improvised explosives. Teachers organized their students into communication networks that could coordinate resistance activities. The world had never been more united. Countries that had been enemies for decades were now working together to defend their planet. Political differences were set aside in favor of species survival. Commander Hayes coordinated intelligence-gathering operations that monitored space for signs of the approaching Void Hunter fleet. His teams used both human technology and equipment provided by the Coalition before they left. "We're tracking unusual gravitational disturbances in the outer system," Rick reported during a morning briefing. "The Void Hunters are still 2 months away, but we're getting better data about their fleet composition." "What are we looking at?" Pete asked. "Approximately 200 ships of various sizes," Rick replied. "That's larger than any fleet they've used before?" "They're taking this planet seriously." Dr. Cooper looked up from his calculations. 200 ships means they'll have massive firepower, but it also means they'll need to coordinate more carefully. More ships means more communication. Traffic we can disrupt. As the weeks passed, Earth's defenses grew stronger and more sophisticated. The planet bristled with hidden weapons and defensive systems. More importantly, the human population was ready to fight with a determination that had never been seen. In the galaxy, the Coalition monitoring probes, still hidden in the outer system, recorded all of these preparations. The data was transmitted back to Coalition space, where military analysts studied humanity's approach with growing amazement. No species had ever prepared for a Void Hunter attack with such thoroughness and creativity. Most civilizations either accepted Coalition protection or tried to fight using conventional methods. Humanity was doing something completely different. The countdown continued. In 2 months, Earth would face its greatest test. The entire planet was ready to discover whether human determination and ingenuity could overcome a threat that had destroyed dozens of advanced civilizations. The alarm sounded at exactly 0347 hours on a Tuesday morning. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Pete Collins was awakened by the urgent beeping of his communication device. He had been sleeping in his office for the past week, waiting for this moment. Commander Rick Hayes was already at his station when Pete arrived. Rick's face was pale but determined as he pointed at the main display screen. "General, they're here. Long-range sensors picked them up 20 minutes ago." The screen showed a field of red dots moving through space toward Earth. Each dot represented a Void Hunter ship, and there were more of them than anyone had expected. "How many?" Pete asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. 347 vessels, Rick replied. "They're moving in a standard attack formation, but they're bigger than the Coalition data suggested." Dr. Alan Cooper rushed into the command center, still putting on his lab coat. He had been working in his laboratory when the alarm sounded, running final tests on their defensive systems. "General Collins," Alan said, "our deep space monitors are picking up massive energy readings from the fleet. They're using some kind of new technology we haven't seen before." Pete felt his stomach tighten. "New technology?" "The Coalition said the Void Hunters don't change their methods. Maybe they learned something from their other battles," Alan suggested. "Or maybe they consider Earth a special threat." Captain Lisa Grant entered the command center with a tablet in her hands. She'd been coordinating with defense installations around the world, making sure everyone was ready for what was coming. "Stations report ready," Lisa announced. "Every defensive system is online and waiting for your orders." Pete looked at the main screen where the red dots were growing larger as they approached Earth. In 6 hours, the Void Hunter fleet would reach orbit. Everything humanity had prepared for the past 2 months would be tested. "Send the message," Pete ordered. Rick nodded and activated the communication system. A signal went out to every military base, every civilian resistance group, and every hidden weapon installation on Earth. The message was simple: the enemy has arrived.
Execute Plan Omega.
Across the planet, millions of people received the signal and began their final preparations. In cities and small towns, in forests and deserts, humans made ready to fight for their world. Lieutenant Danny Martinez was already in his fighter cockpit when the message arrived. Around him, 4,000 other pilots were doing the same thing. They were hidden in underground hangars scattered across the globe, waiting for the right moment to launch. "All pilots, this is command," came Pete's voice over the radio. "Remember? We get one chance at surprise. Make it count." Danny checked his instruments one final time. His fighter was built from a converted civilian transport, but it carried weapons that had never been used in space combat before. He hoped they would work as well in real battle as they had in the tests. The Void Hunter fleet entered the outer solar system and immediately began their standard approach. Their ships moved in perfect formation, following patterns that had brought them victory on dozens of worlds. But as they approached Earth, something unexpected happened. Instead of fleeing or sending surrender messages, the planet began transmitting a signal directly at them. The message was from Admiral Jake Morrison, broadcast from the ESS Liberty. "This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet. Welcome. To our solar system, you picked the wrong planet to attack." The Void Hunter response came quickly. A massive ship at the center of their fleet, clearly the command vessel, sent a reply. The voice that spoke was mechanical and cold, translated by computers into human language. "I am the Harvester. Your world will be consumed. Your species will. Provide fuel for our ships. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." Jake's response was broadcast across every communication channel on Earth and into space. "The people of Earth do not surrender. Come and take our world if you can." The Void Hunter fleet accelerated toward Earth, confident in their superior numbers and technology. They had heard similar brave words from other species, and the result was always the same. But as they approached the planet, the first surprise awaited them. The quantum disruption mines that Ben Clark had built were floating in space, invisible to the Void Hunter sensors. When the alien fleet reached the minefield, the devices activated simultaneously. Explosions of strange energy rippled through space. The Void Hunter ships suddenly found their matter absorption systems failing. Ships that had been feeding on space debris and preparing their weapons lost power as their conversion systems shut down. "Direct hit," reported Commander Sarah Kelly from her monitoring station. "The quantum mines are working. Enemy ships are showing power fluctuations across their entire fleet." The Harvester's voice came over the communication channels again, but this time it sounded surprised. "Unknown weapon detected. Adaptation protocols initiated." Dr. Cooper smiled grimly. 47 minutes until they adapt. Phase 2. Execute now. The railgun installations hidden across Earth's surface emerged from their underground positions. Massive weapons that could fire projectiles at nearly the speed of light aimed at the confused Void Hunter fleet. The first salvo struck the alien ships like hammers hitting glass. Kinetic projectiles moving at incredible speeds punched through holes that were designed to absorb energy weapons. Dozens of Void Hunter vessels exploded or spun out of control. "Kinetic weapons are effective," reported Colonel Tom Brooks from the Australian Railgun Facility. "Enemy ships are not adapted to solid projectile impacts." But the Void Hunters were not helpless. Even as their ships took damage, they began returning fire with energy weapons that could crack planets. Beams of destructive force lanced down toward Earth's surface. This was when humanity's hidden preparations proved their worth. The electromagnetic pulse networks that had been installed across the globe activated, creating protective barriers that deflected or weakened the incoming attacks. Lieutenant Amy Foster's Psychological Warfare Division began broadcasting their disruption signals. The bioelectrical communications used by the Void Hunter ships suddenly became chaotic and unreliable. Enemy coordination is breaking down, Amy reported. Ships are having trouble maintaining formation. The battle entered its most critical phase as Danny Martinez and his fighter squadrons launched from their hidden bases. Thousands of small, fast ships rose from Earth's surface and atmosphere, swarming toward the confused alien fleet. All fighters. Target the smaller escort vessels, Danny commanded over the radio. Leave the big ships for the heavy weapons. The Void Hunters had never encountered this type of attack. Their previous battles had been against organized fleets that fought in predictable formations. But humanity's fighters moved like a swarm of angry insects, striking from all directions at once. Dr. Maria Santos watched the battle from the command center, studying the Void Hunter reactions. They're trying to adapt to our tactics, but we're changing faster than they can process. The atmospheric defense systems that Danny had tested proved crucial. Human fighters could retreat into Earth's atmosphere when pursued, using the planet's gravity and air resistance in ways that the Void Hunter ships could not match. Meanwhile, the biological weapons developed in Brazil were released into space. These weapons targeted the organic components of the Void Hunter ships, causing system failures in their biomechanical technology. Biological attacks successful, reported the Brazilian team leader. Enemy ships are showing signs of internal system conflicts. The Harvester's ship, larger and more powerful than the others, pushed through the defensive fire toward Earth, its weapons charged for a final, devastating attack that could destroy entire continents. But Commander Kelly was ready. Sir, the Harvester is in position for the final trap. Pete nodded. Execute endgame protocol. Hidden weapons platforms throughout the solar system, positioned during the preparation phase, suddenly revealed themselves. They had been disguised as asteroids and space debris, but now they showed their true nature as massive weapons designed for a single purpose. All of these weapons fired simultaneously at the Harvester's ship. The combined attack overwhelmed even the flagship's defenses, sending it spinning helplessly through space. The command ship is disabled, Lisa reported. The rest of their fleet is falling back, but the battle was not over yet. The Void Hunters still had enough ships to devastate Earth, and they were beginning to adapt to humanity's weapons. The next few minutes would determine whether Earth's desperate gamble had succeeded or failed. The Harvester's massive ship tumbled through space, its hull cracked and systems failing. Inside the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Pete Collins watched the battle unfold with growing amazement. No one had expected their plan to work this well. Sir, the enemy fleet is breaking formation, reported Commander Rick Hayes. They're trying to regroup, but our disruption signals are still jamming their communications. Dr. Alan Cooper studied the readings from his instruments. General, the Void Hunters are adapting faster than we predicted. They're starting to counter our quantum mines and biological weapons. Pete nodded grimly. How much time do we have before they adapt completely? Maybe 20 minutes, Alan replied. After that, most of our weapons will be useless against them. Captain? Lisa Grant looked up from her tablet. Then we need to finish this now, while we still have the advantage. Lieutenant Danny Martinez's voice crackled over the radio from his fighter. Command, this is Eagle Leader. Enemy ships are regrouping near the moon. They're trying to use it as cover. Copy that, Eagle Leader, Pete responded. All ground stations. Redirect fire to lunar coordinates. The hidden railgun installations across Earth turned their massive weapons toward the moon. Projectiles traveling at incredible speeds streaked through space, forcing the Void Hunter ships to scatter once again. But the aliens were learning. Ships began moving in new patterns that avoided the areas where Earth's weapons were most effective. Some vessels started using captured space debris as shields against the kinetic projectiles. They're getting smarter, observed Dr. Maria Santos from her monitoring station, but they're also getting desperate. The battle had been raging for 3 hours now. Earth's defenders had destroyed or disabled over half of the Void Hunter fleet. But the remaining ships were becoming more dangerous as they adapted to human tactics. Commander Sarah Kelly coordinated the next phase of the attack. All civilian resistance units, execute Plan Delta. It's time to show them what Earth is really capable of. Across the planet, millions of ordinary people emerged from hiding places, and began the most unusual military operation in galactic history. Farmers drove modified agricultural machines equipped with powerful weapons. Factory workers operated improvised missile launchers. Even children helped by jamming Void Hunter communications with modified radios. The sight confused the alien invaders completely. They had never encountered a world where the entire population fought as one unified force. Every human settlement, no matter how small, was contributing to the defense effort. Unknown tactical pattern detected, came the mechanical voice of a Void Hunter ship. Planetary population is exhibiting organized resistance behaviors. This does not match previous conquest data. Lieutenant Amy Foster smiled as she heard the alien transmission. They don't understand us at all, she said to her team. They've never met a species that refuses to give up. The psychological warfare. Division increased their efforts, broadcasting signals that made the Void Hunter ships even more confused. The aliens tried to adapt to the jamming, but every time they countered one frequency, the humans switched to another, Colonel Tom Brooks reported from his Australian railgun facility. Sir, we're running low on ammunition for the kinetic weapons. But the electromagnetic pulse networks are still at full power. Switch to Phase 3, Pete ordered. All EMP stations, maximum output. The electromagnetic networks around Earth created a massive pulse of energy that swept through the solar system. The pulse was designed to overload the biomechanical systems that the Void Hunter ships relied on. The effect was devastating. Alien vessels that had been adapting to human weapons suddenly found their own systems turning against them, began firing on each other as their targeting systems malfunctioned. Some vessels lost power completely and drifted helplessly through space. But the most important part of the plan was still to come. Hidden among the asteroid belt, a special weapon waited for its moment. This device had been built in secret using the most advanced human technology combined with information from the Coalition files. Engineer Ben Clark activated the weapon from his control station on Earth. Gravity disruption device is online, targeting the enemy command structure. Weapon created a field of altered gravity that pulled the scattered Void Hunter ships together into a tight cluster. Unable to escape the gravitational trap, the alien vessels found themselves crowded together and unable to maneuver effectively. Now, Pete commanded, all weapons, concentrated fire on the cluster. Every remaining weapon on Earth fired simultaneously. At the trapped Void Hunter ships, railguns, energy weapons, and missile systems all targeted the same area of space. The combined firepower was overwhelming. Explosions lit up the darkness as ship after ship was destroyed. The few Void Hunter vessels that survived the barrage were badly damaged and retreating toward the edge of the solar system. The Harvester's ship, still tumbling through space, managed to send one final transmission. This outcome was not predicted. How did a primitive species achieve victory against the Void Hunters? Admiral Jake Morrison answered from the ESS Liberty, because we're not primitive, we're just different. And we never learned that some fights can't be won. The remaining Void Hunter ships fled into deep space, leaving behind the wreckage of their once mighty fleet. For the first time in galactic history, the Void Hunters had been completely defeated in the command center. Pete Collins looked at his exhausted but triumphant staff. Damage report. What did we lose? Lisa Grant consulted her tablet. Surprisingly light casualties. We lost about 40 fighter pilots and had damage to several cities from energy weapon strikes. But considering what we faced, we got off incredibly easy. Dr. Cooper was studying the readings from the battle. The key was keeping them confused and unable to adapt properly. Every time they started to counter one of our tactics, we hit them with something completely different. As the news of victory spread across Earth, celebrations began in every city. In town, people who had prepared to die fighting for their freedom instead found themselves alive and victorious. But the celebration was interrupted by the return of familiar ships. The crystalline vessels of the Galactic Defense Coalition appeared in Earth's orbit. Moving cautiously through the debris field left by the battle, Ambassador Veltar's face appeared on the communication screens, his three eyes wide with amazement. Admiral Morrison, we detected the battle from our monitoring stations. Are you saying that Earth has defeated the Void Hunter fleet? Jake smiled broadly. That's exactly what I'm saying, Ambassador. We told you we didn't need protection, Commander. Zack still appeared beside Veltar, his forearms moving in what humans now recognized as alien gestures of shock. This is impossible. The Void Hunters have never been defeated. How did you accomplish this? Teamwork, Pete said simply, and the willingness to try things that have never been done before. Dr. Cooper stepped forward. We'd be happy to share our tactics with the Coalition. If the Void Hunters return, the galaxy should be ready for them. Veltar was quiet for a long moment. The Coalition Council will want to study everything about this battle. You've achieved something that was thought impossible, Ambassador. Susan Blake joined the conversation. We're still interested in that alliance we discussed, equal partners in the defense of the galaxy. I believe, Veltar said slowly, that the terms of any alliance would need to be reconsidered. Earth has proven itself to be far more capable than anyone imagined. Over the following days, Coalition experts arrived to study the battlefield and interview Earth's defenders. They were amazed to learn that humanity's victory had come not from superior technology, but from superior cooperation and determination. The galaxy learned that the key to defeating the Void Hunters was not better weapons or stronger shields. It was the refusal to accept defeat and the willingness to work together no matter the odds. Within a year, human-designed defense systems were being installed around Coalition worlds. The tactics developed during Earth's desperate fight became standard procedures for defending against future Void Hunter attacks. But perhaps the most important change was in how the galaxy viewed the relationship between advanced and developing civilizations. No longer would species be simply protected or abandoned. Instead, they would be invited to contribute their unique perspectives to the common defense. Earth became the headquarters of a new organization called the Galactic Defense Initiative. Its motto, suggested by a farmer from Kansas who had fought in the battle, was simple: we don't give up. The Void Hunters never returned to attack Earth directly. Yes. But when they did appear in other parts of the galaxy, they found defenders who had learned from humanity's example. Species that had once relied entirely on Coalition protection now fought alongside their protectors with courage and creativity. The galaxy was forever changed by the day when Earth proved that sometimes the best protection comes not from advanced technology or superior firepower, but from the unbreakable determination to remain free